This is the Daily Stoic. Most people know Aristotle as the famous philosopher who taught Alexander the Great. But did you know that he also tutored Alexander's half-sister Cleopatra? He was arguably the most influential thinker in the Western tradition. And his ideas have affected everything from politics to science to logic and ethics. So it's no surprise that he has been both revered and reviled for 2,000 years. He was called the father of many different fields of study, including physics, biology, ethics, politics, rhetoric, and more. It is a great biography that covers his entire life, from his childhood to his death. First of all, he was a prolific writer who left behind a huge body of work that covered almost every aspect of human knowledge. He wrote over 600 treatises on various subjects, although only 30 of them have survived to us. He was a man of science who loved to observe and classify the natural world. He was also a man of logic who loved to reason and to deduce the causes and effects of things. He was a man of immense knowledge, ability, and curiosity. He was a man who shaped our world and who continues to influence us today. He was a man who unlocked the secrets of the universe and of the human soul. And he was a man who deserves our admiration and our gratitude. He was able to use this ability to solve problems in various fields such as ethics, politics, rhetoric, and poetry. For example, he was the first person to define tragedy as a form of drama that evokes pity and fear in the audience. He also defined comedy as a form of drama that mocks and ridicules human behavior. He also developed a system of logic that consists of 3 parts: the study of arguments, the study of propositions, and the study of terms. This system helped him and his students to avoid fallacies and to reach valid conclusions. It also helped them to persuade others with their arguments and to defend themselves against criticism. But even these 30 works are incredibly valuable and show the depth and breadth of his intellect. He was a man who asked questions about everything and who never stopped seeking answers. He was curious about the world around him and about the human condition. What do you think is the most important lesson from Aristotle? Which of his ideas has affected your life the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow. He wanted to know how things worked and why they happened. He also wanted to know what makes us human and what makes us happy. His curiosity led him to explore new ideas and to challenge old ones. It led him to travel to different places and to talk to different people. It also led him to write so many books and to teach so many students. His curiosity was the driving force of his genius. For example, he wrote about 150 books on logic, 40 on physics, 30 on metaphysics, 20 on ethics, and 15 on politics. That is an insane amount of knowledge to have in your head. And it's no wonder that the medieval scholars who rediscovered his works thought that he was a kind of supernatural being. It also explains his relationship with Plato and Alexander, his work at the Lyceum, and his legacy after he died. He was also one of the first great scientific thinkers, someone who tried to understand the world based on observation and reason rather than on mythology or religious dogma. This idea alone was so radical that it got him in trouble with the religious authorities. He didn't just theorize about how things should be, he tried to understand how they actually were. For example, he didn't just write about ethics. He lived according to ethical principles that he formulated himself. He said that happiness is the ultimate goal of human life, and that it is achieved by living virtuously and rationally. He also believed that friendship is a key part of happiness, and that it is possible to be friends with anyone regardless of their background or beliefs. These are not just abstract ideas. They are practical guidelines for how to live a good life. And Aristotle followed them himself. His students admired him for his wisdom and his ability to make complex ideas simple and clear. They also respected him for his courage and his independence. He was not afraid to speak his mind even when it was unpopular or dangerous. He was also not afraid to challenge his own beliefs. When he found them to be wrong, he was once cross-examined by his student Theophrastus, and he admitted that he was mistaken. That is the mark of a true philosopher, someone who is always learning and always growing. It led some of his students to believe that he was actually immortal. In this episode, we unlock the secrets of one of the greatest minds in history and discover what made Aristotle so brilliant. Let's start with his journey. He was born in the small village of Stagira in Greece around 384 BC to a wealthy family. When he was very young, his father died, and his mother remarried a man named Proxenus, who was an advisor to the king of Macedonia. So when Aristotle was around 14 years old, he went to live with his uncle, the philosopher Plato, in Athens. There he studied for 20 years and became his mentor. But after Plato died, Aristotle left Athens and went to the Macedonian court to tutor Alexander III. He tutored the future king Alexander for about 3 years. But then he returned to Athens, where he founded his own school called the Lyceum in 335 BC. It was here that he developed his philosophical system, which combined the rationalism of Plato with the empirical method of observation. He also wrote most of his works at the Lyceum, including his famous Nicomachean Ethics, Politics, Poetics, and Metaphysics. But sadly, after he died in 322 BC, his school was suppressed by the Athenians because of his alleged impiety. They accused him of impiety and irreligion, probably because he challenged traditional beliefs about the gods and the soul. He also had enemies among his former students, like Pyrrho of Elis, who founded a rival school of philosophy called the Stoics. But despite all the controversy, Aristotle's ideas survived and influenced countless thinkers throughout the ages, from the Roman philosopher Cicero to the English scientist Francis Bacon, to the German philosopher G.W.F. Hegel, and many, not many more. If you want to learn more about the life of Aristotle, check out the book Aristotle by Robin Waterfield. Now let's move on to what made Aristotle so brilliant. But Aristotle was not just a man of books, he was also a man of action, who applied his philosophy to real-life situations. Another thing that made Aristotle so brilliant was his ability to see the connections between different things and to find the underlying principles that govern them. And finally, let's talk about the most important thing that made Aristotle so brilliant, and that was his curiosity. So those are some of the things that made Aristotle so brilliant. Now I want to hear from you.